Well, you join me here in the very sumptuous surroundings of the Deutsche Bank boardroom up in the city, and I'm delighted to be joined for this Inside London Scottish, our latest film, by Colin Grassie, who is Chief Executive of the UK Deutsche Bank and obviously our main club sponsors. Colin, great to be with you. Thank you for inviting us in today.
Good afternoon. And you said sumptuous. I don't think the cameras has a wide enough lens to follow the paper cups.
Well, that's true, actually.
But nonetheless, we take the compliment gracefully.
Well, if you've been to London Scottish to the Porter Cabin, this is sumptuous, believe me. So, look, fantastic you've been involved with the club. Why would Deutsche Bank want to sponsor someone like London Scottish?
London Scottish is many things. It's a rugby club, but it's a lot more than that. And I think what we display is some understanding of why it's a lot more than that. It's an institution with great history and great pedigree. Founded in 1878. Our own company was founded in 1870.
Could have grown up together almost.
We've sort of grown up together. It's a club which has supplied a greater number of players, international players, for its country than any other club in the world. That's a unique proposition. We recognize that. So it has great pedigree in delivery. Our business is all about delivery. And now London Scottish performs in the professional world, which is different from people like me and others who played in an amateur environment. It's a very different game. So adaptation to the professional environment is something we also are very cognizant of and admire as a skill set. And then delivering the performance that's required, as we are asked to do every day around the world, is something we also admire. I would also say that as an environment, it's just terrific. You see 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds every Sunday morning. The club is inclusive. People can come all over the world, and they don't know people in London. They can come to London Scottish. It's a bit of a home away from home for people. And I think that's terrific because there's more to life than work, and there's more to life than play. And I think what London Scottish does is to marry those objectives and to deliver performance, which is what we're all asked to do on a professional and personal level every day. And
you're right, the balance is pretty key, isn't it? Certainly in life and in everything we do. And one of the things I know which you're very strong about as a bank is passion to perform. And if you look back at this last season, specifically at some of the games, the passion was there, wasn't it? And I think we struggled a little bit because on our own admission, a lot of the sides were a lot bigger, more physicality, but you couldn't fault the commitment and the passion of the players.
No, indeed. And anybody watching this will understand what I mean when I say that there's no shortage of excitement at London Scottish, and that's 2 years in a row we've run down the clock to the last game. But really what that does is make your point so well, which is for a new team coming into the championship, recognizing the challenges, we had to deal with a very, very tough anointment. The injury list was considerable, reflecting the physicality. So what it took in terms of getting fit again, getting healthy again, the mental attitude, the intensity of mission, are all the attributes that we find so interesting to be in and around.
And of course, the same can be said of business as well, isn't it? I mean, you have to dig deep sometimes to come through to get the right results, I guess. Looking ahead, we're looking now to consolidate our position next season back, still in the Championship, and I think the structure is going to change next season in terms of relegation, promotion, and so on. You excited for the new season? Or the new season's a bit of a long way off, but are you excited for it?
May's a great month because you have the final games, all the big tournaments, be it Champions League, the Premiership, Championship, whatever it is, but they come to an end.
Yeah.
And maybe some of you listening to this will have some sympathy that we wonder what we're going to do all summer. So can't wait for the new tournament. And I think it'll be wiser, and it's probably going to be a bigger London Scottish that takes the field, and there's no doubt in my mind that it probably won't be as dramatic an end to next season as we've had the last two.
I don't think, I think cardiologists everywhere will be looking forward to it if it is, because they'll be well employed, but I think the rest of us can't take that stress. Now look, the Players' Player of the Year was Aaron Lifchak. Now, you look at somebody who displays all the qualities you would talk about. I think he is someone who encapsulates that. He still works for a living outside of rugby, and yet he didn't miss one game last season. That's incredible, isn't it?
I think that's extraordinary, and he deserves that accolade.
And Dan Mugford was the Supporters' Player of the Year. I guess the guy who gets all the points gets all the plaudits. But looking back on the season, were there any standout moments for you at all through the season that you suddenly think that was a great game or great performance?
I would reflect the first win of the season at home.
Yeah.
Felt great. I wonder if there wasn't a little bit of a danger that then developed because
This
we
is easy.
almost won. I think the next one, as I recall.
I think so.
So I think that it became very tough, very hard. So I really would accentuate the performance through the season, particularly coming back from all those injuries. Coming back from all those injuries was huge. And I think that the playoffs were tough. I think they were harder than we thought. And I think why Mugford was accorded as he was reflected a very serious contribution in the playoffs. And they maybe didn't go quite as we thought.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And I think Simon and his backroom team did a fantastic job as well, didn't they? Keeping the guys motivated. We brought in a lot of new players through the season, and he got them to gel, and that was key. And I think it was one game he reflects on, which was Isha away during the league season, that was massive, where they dug in for 6 minutes of defence, where they just, I can't remember the tackle count, it was a massive tackle count. And that was almost like a turning point for the squad.
Yeah. I think over the season there are a number of games where you've got to look at the forwards and say they were outsized sharply, if not dramatically, and thou shalt not cross my line. Thou shalt not cross my line was very, very evident. And when a Scotsman says, thou shalt not cross my line, you're probably not getting across.
You're probably
and that's
not.
what they did.
Exactly. Okay, now look, your own self, you played quite a long time, and I know you're quite an active sportsman now, aren't you? You still run and so on, do you?
Well, I run very quickly to the physio now of the afternoons, paying for sins of the past. I used to tootle around the Ironman circuit a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I read somewhere. You're still doing Ironman or not?
That was then, and now is now. And I watch Gregor, my 11-year-old, on a Sunday morning at London Scottish, which is fantastic, and 16-year-old boy who's played a few games for London Scottish and turned out for Edinburgh and was a Scotland trialist this year.
Fantastic.
And his big brother's in the US doing track and field in a big American sports university. So the answer is I get my exercise through my eyes these days.
Well, that's great. And actually, you touched on the Sunday mornings there. The Sunday mornings at London Scottish are something else, aren't they? Hundreds of children running around, potentially future internationals and British Lions there. We don't know. But, I mean, the enthusiasm shown is incredible, isn't it?
I think that the coaches and I think the people who drive the minis do deserve a special appreciation, because as we know, it's pro bono. And I think it's very important also, and I'm sure they do understand that the pro team has had to deliver on the pro mission. And that is a very, very focused mission. And you can't do everything at once. But I think now with the success on the field and the confidence that will come at the pro level, the view that the minis and the young can supply players, and potentially, if we have an academy, we can find a way to bridge. So I think that's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to be involved in that.
Perfect. Well, look, one thing I do want to say, and I know in every interview I think we've always banged on about this, but the home crowd has been sensational this season, none more so than the final day of the season when the atmosphere was fantastic. And, people like yourselves and so on who come down, not just from the, because you're involved in business side, you want to be there because you want to be there for the rugby, and it's been fantastic for the guys. And that makes you tingle, doesn't it, that sort of thing? I
think our home crowds are epic, and the last day was fantastic. So I agree with that. And as the main sponsor, we are having some ideas, and we're thinking about one or two things we can do to maybe juice up big game days next season, because it's one of the most enjoyable days out. And you don't have to be a great rugby fan for atmosphere, for intensity, and for just being welcome.
And fellowship, actually. It's a great place to meet people.
And fellowship. What a great club.
Colin, look, thank you for your continued involvement. I know we really do appreciate that. And it's great to see you down there as well, because a lot of people sponsor clubs, but they don't bother to turn up. But you're an active member. You're heavily involved. Saturdays, Sundays, and everything else. Long may it continue. Have an enjoyable summer. And, we'll start talking rugby pretty soon, I'm sure. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you very much.